So, recently, there was news from Game Files written by Steven Totilo. He interviewed Ubisoft internally and revealed that they were actually planning to make a game about the American Civil War between the 1860s and 1870s. It would have told the story of a black slave rebelling against the Ku Klux Klan. But it was all cancelled because Yasuke wasn't well received by gamers in Assassin's Creed Shadows. I feel like Ubisoft's executives failed to understand the context of Yasuke, the premise they wanted to create between the American Civil War and Yasuke's Japanese counterpart is completely different. Of course, the protagonist's races are the same, but the events are in very different contexts, especially in terms of the treatment of each character. Okay, before we get into the discussion, I remind you to assassinate the like button and stab the subscribe button too. We'll get into the discussion, open the codex, understand the context, the cancelled of Assassin's Creed games. In the interview, this information was actually from July 2024. So, this was around the time of the Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer release. And of course, they received a lot of criticism from various parties, especially about Yasuke. But I don't know why this information was released on October 9th. I mean, why now? Why not earlier? If this information had been released earlier, wouldn't the response have been good? It's as if Ubisoft would have responded more quickly to the audience. That way, player feedback would have been conveyed more quickly, and they could have made a better decision. So, they wouldn't have had to wait another year for Shadows to be delayed twice and then released. That begs the question, why now? I have an opinion at the end, so watch the entire video. Let's go back to the news in the interview. Ubisoft internally revealed they wanted to make a game set during the American Civil War from the 1860s to 1870s. They would focus on a black character who was enslaved. He wanted to rebel against slavery during the Civil War. Let me give you some context first. In fact, the lore of the American Civil War has already been discussed in the Assassin's Creed 2 Glyph message. You can check it out for yourself in Glyph message number 15. There's an assassination syndicate named John Wilkes Booth. He was the man who assassinated Abraham Lincoln during the American Civil War. And of course, this is closely related to the Assassin-Templar War. At that time, America was divided into two sides. The Union or the North opposed slavery, and the Confederacy or the South supported slavery. This contrast is so stark and extreme that President Abraham Lincoln suffered the consequences. He supported the anti-slavery movement, which resulted in his assassination. Not only that, during this war, there was a group called the Ku Klux Klan, a notoriously racist organization. Their goal was to restore white power, so they strongly supported the enslavement of black people, which was a Confederate policy. If we look at it more broadly, the context of Yasuke and the American Civil War is very different. I think this Civil War premise is very interesting, and it's a shame to miss it, especially since it involves a real-world conspiracy. That is the soul of Assassin's Creed back then. I loved the old Assassin's Creed because there were so many conspiracy-related lore pieces like this. This is a good idea. But unfortunately, Ubisoft's top brass dismissed it, opting to play it safe. I'll talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows first, because that's the reason this decision happened. I'm sure people who hate Assassin's Creed Shadows are just following suit. They probably don't even play the Assassin's Creed franchise. But if we look at the Japanese themselves, they're not offended by Yasuke at all. It's perfectly fine. Let me take one example. Japanese YouTuber Sora the Troll made a video that basically said that if someone doesn't like black people as protagonists in Japan, they don't like Dragon Ball, whose protagonist isn't from Earth. It was funny, but the context of the video was comedic. So everything's fine with Yasuke, although there is another issue the Japanese government has raised, namely the shrine. That was early play from the player footage, not from Ubisoft. Not official, and the game's still in development. They patched it on day one and can't do that anymore. And that's fine. Perhaps the level of offense at shrines is greater than at churches, perhaps. But that issue has been resolved, and it wasn't about race. Once again, it's not about race. If someone is just being hateful about race, I think it's just yapping, not worth taking seriously. And if they still don't accept black people in Japan, why is it okay in Assassin's Creed Revelation, Italians killing Turks, or in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Nordics killing British people? If it has to be the same, why are those games so safe? Yes, because of the context of the story. I need to emphasize this is about the context of the story, not about race. Understand, don't mix them up because they're two different things. Back to the Yasuke issue. What people are complaining about is that Yasuke's history is overly exaggerated. And I agree. Yasuke seems like a mere extra. So, this is about narrative development. Casual players can't immediately fall in love with Yasuke because he's praised so readily. All the marketing videos and pamphlets exaggerate it. It's like Yasuke's rise to power instantly. We can see in the trailer that Neo is beaten up until she's battered. Yasuke simply bowed and immediately rose in rank, and then he slaughters people. I mean, how can people sympathize with Yasuke? New players don't know his journey, and the game's narrative is so lacking. There's nothing meaningful for players to like Yasuke in the early game. Regarding discrimination, race, and the difficulty of adapting, all of this appears only in side missions, which are easily forgotten. I'm sure people will forget about those side missions. And this makes Yasuke's character feel like an extra, unimportant addition. On average, players like Zero to Hero stories, one where people know how miserable they are, the twists and turns of life they experience, regardless of race or gender. If it's told well, the character will naturally be loved. There are many such characters in Assassin's Creed like Adewale, Aveline, Return Hackathon. I included Return Hackathon because slavery also existed among Native Americans. So, initial impressions will be crucial to the game. But why not Yasuke? Again, it's because of the narrative. Their treatment is very different, they're just using Yasuke's glorification over and over. Look at the others. Adewale, a slave rescued by Edward. Aveline, a slave child raised by a nobleman. And Return Hackathon, whose village was burned down early on. At the beginning of the game, it's immediately clear how his journey will go. Unlike Yasuke, who rose quickly and achieved a high rank, that's make people didn't sympathize with him. I'm sure if everything had been presented according to history, it would have been well received. Many would have supported him. This is also the case with the Civil War project. Many people have spoken up and sympathized with the good premise. And I'm one of them. Although the news said it was proposed by Ubisoft Quebec and their narrative director for Shadows was terrible, I hope they replace her. Odyssey's story is great though. By the way, according to Insider Gaming Tom Henderson, the project based on this premise is being developed by game director Scott Phillips, who created Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Odyssey. According to him, the project is codenamed Scarlet. This is actually a bit ambiguous, as Tom previously suggested Scarlet might be the codename for a nebula set in the Mediterranean, Aztec, and Indian regions. But now Scarlet has changed to American Civil War. We still don't know which is true. Rumors say Scarlet is a project that will be developed after Assassin's Creed Hex. But if this is the story, the cancellation information might not happen. It's still unclear. And finally, to answer the question, why is this coming up now? Discussions have been going on since July 2024. Why is it being revealed in 2025? In my opinion, this is just bait. Ubisoft wants to test the waters. See the potential and public opinion. Will a civil war setting in America work? It's quite odd. The Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer came out in May, but they immediately cancelled the plan in July. They made a long-term decision in just a month. But of course, this probably still requires a lot of consideration. Moreover, the American setting is too generic, and the political situation there is also unstable. Suddenly being taken by Donald Trump is a bit unnerving, haha. But I think this premise is very interesting. Regardless of who the protagonist is, even if the protagonist is from the KKK that rebel and want to stop it, I think it would be cool. Because the premise is very much about conspiracy. That's what I've been waiting for. So, what do you think? Is this premise interesting? Are you okay with another black protagonist? Let us know your thoughts below. Don't forget to assassinate the like button, spread the video, and stab the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and the final word.
Oh shit, here we go again.